You're watching the PlantX Vodcast. Join us as we explore the inner workings of all things plant-based and all things PlantX, from the products and lifestyles to the people behind them. Now welcome our host, the man who combined his love of e-commerce and the plant-based lifestyle to create PlantX, Sean Dollinger.
Hey everyone, welcome to our second episode of season 2 of our live PlantX Vodcast. And today we're streaming from our Squamish location, the first official X market here in Squamish, BC. We consider this area our flagship location. I wish that I could take the camera and show you around the activity here, the energy. Whenever I'm in town, I absolutely love coming here and working and saying hey to everybody who comes to experience what this whole place is all about, from the coffee shop called the Cloudburst Cafe to the Locavore to the X Market. And for all the new viewers, and again, thank you very much to our shareholders and investors who keep spreading the word. In season 1, we would get about 200 views on the live stream and through the rest of the day. And last week, without even broadcasting to a few channels that the team executed on fantastic over the week, we ended up having over 1,400 views. And it just shows you how our shareholder base keeps getting more and more interested in the story and share it with like-minded individuals. And so today, perhaps we have people who don't really know the PlantX story and what it's all about, and we're your one-stop shop for everything plant-based. So if anybody is looking for meal delivery in Canada or the US, groceries, and now we have well over a few thousand products live on the website, to plants for the home, because we believe at PlantX, it's more about what you put in your body, but just the way you carry yourselves through life and surrounding yourselves around plants and being the best human you possibly could be. That's really what PlantX is. And we want to be very welcoming. So for anybody who's interested in living a plant-based lifestyle and perhaps never knew what really goes into it, or that it's just more than, bread and pasta, and there's literally endless amounts of products coming out, you're that one-stop shop for all of those items. So on that note, one of the ambassadors who joined us not too long ago that we announced, I guess it's maybe a little over a month ago, Nick McNutt is joining us, and really, really proud to have him part of PlantX. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi, Sean. Thanks for having me on. Really excited to be here.
Yeah, no, awesome, Nick. And before we jump in and start asking you any questions, we always like starting our podcasts by asking, how do you take your coffee?
Often, but yeah, usually just with a splash of something. Oat milk's great. That's kind of like does it all. I'm not big on the sugar, just black or a little bit of a splash of something, but awesome. Frequently.
Yeah. And I know I've seen you over here a few times, so that's exactly how I do it. An iced decaf Americano with a little splash of oat milk. Yeah. So absolutely love it. And again, for PlantX viewers, it's perhaps some of their first chances of getting to ask questions and get to know you a little bit. So maybe you want to give a little bit of background on who you are, what you do, and how you got into extreme sports.
Yeah, so I grew up in a small town in the interior of British Columbia called Kimberley in the Columbia Valley, and it's kind of like in the foothills of the Rocky Mountains. And it's a small town, but there's plenty of stuff to do outside. And I wasn't ever huge on the team sports, but I was really into mountain biking and skiing. Obviously, I grew up ski racing as a young kid, and spent quite a bit of time snowboarding as well, kind of in my early teens. And skiing went through a bit of a renaissance with the newer ski technology and stuff, just as I was finishing up high school, and got way back into skiing, and always was in love with the bikes as well in the summer. It's a good kind of balance. And moved to Whistler BC when I was kind of fresh out of high school. I like saved up for the summertime and moved here basically as soon as I possibly could to play in the bigger mountains and just have more access to kind of bigger terrain and longer season, and be surrounded by kind of a community that's in love with it as well. So I've been living on the coast for about 15 years here, and now in Squamish, but it's just a short drive to Whistler to go ski and do a lot of mountain biking still and rock climbing. And yeah, seasons kind of flow right into each other really nicely that way. It's always time to do something outside for the most part here, and it's a great place to be for what I do.
Awesome. Yeah, I think I was clicking around on your Instagram the other day, and I saw this unbelievable photo of this rock climbing that you did that was only during a specific period, and it's mind-blowing to see. So that was awesome. And what put you towards the mindset of living a plant-based lifestyle? What was your attraction to that? Perhaps you could share with our investors and shareholders.
No, I was spending a lot of time actually surrounded by people who were kind of dabbling in that lifestyle, and it was a pretty kind of natural evolution. Like it kind of happened organically, where it was like piece by piece. It wasn't a conscious decision to kind of go cold turkey, but I did start to eat, dinners that were all plant-based, and slowly, phasing out things one at a time. And honestly, meat has been probably the easiest one at the beginning. That was kind of like a pretty good one to get rid of, and it's kind of easy now with all the different alternative options that we have available. They're just getting tastier, and they're still packed full of protein and stuff. It's not hard to do, and it's something that I don't miss. But slowly over time, it was progressing more and more, getting rid of the dairy, and just now with all the different options we have available, it's made it quite simple. And it was a process. I think it's been kind of a 3 or 4 year journey probably to get to where I am, but it was a really easy thing to do as far as just eliminating things one by one. And sometimes you find something that you actually really, really like, and you don't end up missing, what you've replaced. And being surrounded by a fair amount of people that are kind of in that same path it just made it quite simple. You go to a barbecue and you don't necessarily have to bring a steak. You can bring, there's a plethora of options available. So it's something that you don't have to feel like it's too daunting. It doesn't have to be, like I said, a cold turkey, hard stop. And, a lot of people just kind of do 1 day a week or one meal a week and progress from there kind of at their own pace. But for me, it was, 3 or 4 years probably until I've gotten to where I am now.
Awesome. And I agree with you. People need to take the time to introduce themselves to this whole plant-based lifestyle. Give it a try. Don't just wake up one morning and say, I'm giving up on everything. It's a lifestyle. And like you said, for me, it's been a 10-year journey. And 10 years ago, cheese didn't even melt when you would put it on, and the different tastes that have come out are amazing. So I know when we first met, you started speaking to me about this experience you had, and when I started watching videos and reading about it online, the avalanche that I think it was a couple of years back now, what took place. And maybe you could speak about being fit and perhaps the plant-based lifestyle, how it might have helped you recover, and whatever you think on that note.
Yeah, so for those that don't know, I was involved in a full burial that happened. That was in early March of 2019, or sorry, 2020. So it was basically a couple weeks before a lot has changed for a lot of people with the COVID lockdowns and stuff happening later that month. And it was a unique circumstance. It wasn't really like your typical avalanche that most people think of with like a weak layer in the snow where a huge panel of snow falls down. This was really like one kind of block of snow, like a blob, we call it a pillow, that was kind of glued to this face. And it was basically on a hairpin trigger. And so I skied, near it, and just a little bit of snow touching it was enough to make it roll down the hill like a giant ball of ice, basically. And it collided with me lower down the slope and broke apart. And it was like a pretty concentrated little piece of terrain I was in. So I got raked through the forest and was fortunate enough that I ended up getting like, my arm up to connect with these trees, which ended up saving me for sure. But I was buried fully for the better part of 6 minutes. And fortunately I was, with a really experienced crew, including a couple people who are like, one was a guide, one is a guide in training. And we had, a pretty large crew of people that were all paying close attention to me from a close distance. So, and there was a whole situation where the avalanche transceiver, which is sort of the device you would use to find someone who's buried, that transceiver actually malfunctioned. And it's now led to this kind of major recall / sort of like warning to people about that specific model. And, something that's come out of it that's been good has been kind of a lot of people are waking up to this specific device is, maybe not up to par with what we have as far as a lot of the other models out there. So there was some silver lining to it. It was a 6 minute burial with a shattered arm. So it was pretty traumatic. The arm wasn't really on my mind while I was buried. Obviously it was like lack of oxygen and everything. It was basically impossible to breathe under there. I was able to kind of keep calm enough that I could pull just a little bit of oxygen through the snowpack if I breathed slowly. And it was a good practice and kind of that Zen mindset for sure. But my friends found me, even though they had, no signal. They basically had to find me with their probes. And it was kind of like a big eye opener actually for the whole ski industry at that point. Because it was pretty high profile on a film shoot and everything.
Wow.
But yeah, it was something I wouldn't wish on my worst enemy. It's a pretty dark place being alone under there, buried. And of course, as soon as I was dug up, then it was like the focus was totally on the injury at that point. Just trying to get me out of there so I could get the medical attention I needed, because my arm was basically rubberized from the elbow to the wrist for a few hours, which was pretty tough. But it's been a journey. I'm still kind of dealing with it now, as far as like all that hardware is going to be coming out pretty soon here, which will be nice. But it's been a long road.
Wow. Well, glad that you've recovered and feeling a lot better. And it's intense. And as you know, this is being streamed to a whole bunch of different platforms, and it's really a chance that people could ask you questions live, and our investors and shareholders to give any feedback on the show. And over the last week, one investor who's been very, very involved is somebody by the name of Martin Waugh out of Montreal. And, Martin, we would like to go ahead and say thank you for the suggestions that you've sent me personally and to the team. I really think there was a lot of valid points, and we'll continue to execute on them. And we'll go ahead and send you out some beautiful plants, and it'd be great for you to take a photo and share with everybody. And Nick, on that note, what does it mean to you to be a PlantX ambassador?
Well, I'm super thankful to be involved, and it's honestly, a really great place to steer people. I'm lucky enough to have like a decent following online and have kind of a way to spread the message. And so having somewhere to direct people who are thinking about transitioning to a more plant-based diet, or just wondering where, a better place to get the products that they're seeking is, being kind of that middle ground that can take, the people who may follow me, who may be interested, and bring them to you guys who are able to provide what they're looking for is kind of what feels like my job. And it feels like something that I'm more than happy to do, because it's something I'm passionate about. And it's something that I feel like for, a multitude of reasons is a good step to take, for the environment and for your health. It's a great place to send people. And honestly, being able to shop at PlantX takes a huge part of the dilemma out for people, right? You're not having to read these cryptic ingredient lists and stuff, because if you head to the store or you're shopping on the online store, that everything you sell is void of animal products. So it makes things really simple for people. And there's honestly a lot of options that you guys do carry that aren't available in your typical grocery stores you might find in your town. So it's a great place to send people, and it's something that's, naturally I'm passionate about it. So it's a really good fit.
Awesome. And I love your landing page and seeing the suggestions that you put out there and the followers that you've already brought into the store. Obviously, you're local here in Squamish, and even when I sit here with you, it's amazing how many people know you and draw to you. So thanks for believing in PlantX. And obviously, you travel into these backcountries and you're traveling the world. Sometimes maybe it's not easy to find plant-based products. What do you do when you're in these situations?
Yeah, definitely some places are tougher than others, and I feel like we're really fortunate, like being in kind of a Western society, like in North America or even like mainland Europe. It's pretty easy these days. Honestly, most places are going to find ways to cater to a vegetarian or a vegan diet, and it's becoming so much more mainstream that you're not the kind of the pain in the side or like the odd person by asking for something like that. Which I feel like has changed in recent years. It's definitely getting easier and easier to do that, but there's still some places in the world that are a little bit more, I guess, like back in the olden days of just like, kind of meat and potatoes kind of diets. And for some places, that's honestly just like because of the way of life there. They're not really in these kind of distribution chains and stuff. Like it's tricky. For example, I was in Albania for about a month, and that place is pretty eye-opening for the way of life there. But they're also, in the cities it's one thing, but as soon as you get up into the mountains there, they're living off of basically what they've been able to set up for themselves. Like they've foraged in the summer and they've frozen whatever they could to keep themselves going through the winter, and they have goats on land that they shepherd around, and they basically will take one day every time they need to be able to feed themselves through the winter. And so hanging out in a place like that, you definitely had to get a little bit creative, and maybe, at that point, the option isn't to obviously request a vegetarian meal, but maybe it's like you came prepared with quite a lot of your own options. And for sure, like having stuff, if you're going to one of these places that's notoriously difficult, like being prepared and traveling with some stuff that's like non-perishable and easy to make, to be able to kind of take care of yourself might be the best way to do it. Which there's more and more options now for that. But it's honestly, in a lot of the developed Western world, it's getting to the point where it's pretty easy, and it's not a strange request at most restaurants and stuff to eat that way.
Yeah, I remember traveling a lot and people looking a little sideways at you when you say I'd like something plant-based, So definitely expanding around the globe, like you said. So thanks for sharing that story. And we've actually had a really active day on questions. So the first question, do you believe the plant-based world has changed, not just grown in the past year?
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's grown, but I think for sure it's changed in a sense that it's, like I said, it's not a strange ask. It's not something that's uncommon, and it's honestly getting to be a pretty mainstream request, right? Like eating at a lot of these places, it's kind of rare actually to go to a restaurant. Maybe you're at a chop house or something and it's a little bit off menu request, but typically you're going to find something that's going to cater to your diet. And like I said, especially in sort of a developed world, it's becoming more and more popular. And honestly, businesses, restaurants, they're leaving themselves out from, group setting dinners. If like, it's pretty common for, say, a group of 5 for one person to be on a plant-based diet. That's not unusual. And so if you're not catering to that type of a client, you're going to be left behind as they select somewhere else to eat. So I think that's the biggest thing, honestly, is like the amount of options and the sort of the mainstream, I guess mainstreamness, for lack of a better word, but yeah, it's becoming a lot more common. And so therefore the demand is there and the supply is kind of changing as far as restaurants and as well as, stores.
Awesome. And Christian asks, on a personal level, have you ever rock climbed in France, and how do you think it compares to BC?
I have not rock climbed in France. I've been there a handful of times to ski, and I know that they have some incredible climbing. Obviously, Chamonix is kind of about as famous as it gets in Europe for the kind of granite climbing that I tend to do around here in Squamish. It's mostly that style of rock, but we're a little more limited as far as the access. Like, in Europe, it's like take a gondola to right into the glaciated kind of crazy terrain, which is pretty mind blowing to think about. And it's something that is definitely high on the list to do.
Awesome. And final question, and then we'll let you go enjoy this beautiful day here in Squamish. Nick, can you share some of your favorite items on PlantX?
Yeah, I've been really enjoying actually the really good butchers. They have like a fair amount of options for kind of meat substitute type stuff. That's been kind of a staple in my household. And a lot of the snacks, I eat a lot kind of on the go outside, like I just put what I can in my pack for the day. And a couple of things I've been really liking are like the plant-based jerkies. They're all really, really good. I've been like sharing them with a lot of friends who do still eat meat, and they're all blown away kind of by the flavor, texture, and everything. It's like right there. So it's that's a good one. And there's a handful of like the kind of different bars, like the Lara bars are a really popular one, and it makes up a pretty big chunk of my diet, like during the daytime, I would say, is like a lot of that to go kind of snack type food, just because I'm not usually sitting around at home to have a lunch. But yeah, honestly, the really good butchers, they're making a lot of great stuff. And that Just Egg is kind of a staple in the morning for me as well. Doing like kind of little breakfast sandwiches. And yeah, can't go wrong with like peanut butter and toast. That kind of stuff is usually good fuel for the day too. So those are probably the main ones.
And I love a great Just Egg breakfast sandwich. So I don't know if you've ever been to Bread in Whistler, but they have the most phenomenal sourdough and seed bread. So put in that with the Just Egg. It's awesome.
Yeah, that place is great.
So Nick, thank you very much for believing in PlantX. Still remember the first time that we met and had the conversation about you joining on as an ambassador, and the support that you've given us, always willing to take time out of your day. I know you're busy, or you'd love to be enjoying a hike out here or rock climbing. So thanks for taking the hour out of your day to share with our investors and shareholders, and look forward to continuing to grow with you.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm happy to be here. And if anyone has any questions that weren't answered, like feel free. I'm easy to reach on Instagram, just DM. And if you've got something you're curious about, I'm happy to get back to you. So, and yeah, thanks a lot for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Have a good one.
Take care.
Until next time.
Thanks.
Cheers. So once again, I love having our ambassadors on here, partnership, team members, just so the investors and shareholders who trust us and invest in our company and help us grow understand really what we're doing here at PlantX. And we're growing something that I don't believe is taking place anywhere else in the world. And our expansion plans internationally are mind-blowing. Even what we've achieved up to now in just 1 year, even where I'm standing. And they close the Locavor on Mondays, but the coffee shop Cloudburst and the X Market store are open. You would think that they're giving away things for free with how busy it is here on a Monday afternoon. And again, none of this would be possible if it wasn't for you guys. And taking your time to watch this show every week means a lot to myself and the whole team. And I find when I start explaining to different people, hey, what do you do, Sean? And I explain how I founded this company called PlantX and what it's all about. I always feel at the end, nobody really quite grasps what PlantX, this huge platform, is really all about. And if you look at companies like Zappos took market share from the biggest companies in the world, creating amazing customer service around the biggest collection of shoes. And shoes are readily available anywhere. You could go to Foot Locker, to Walmart, to anywhere that you could think of to purchase shoes. Meanwhile, Zappos comes in, creates so much momentum that Amazon ends up buying them. And I could give you example over example of companies like that. And that's exactly what PlantX is. but for the plant-based space. And we're really lucky that a company a few weeks back, it might have even been a little over a month now, an investment fund out of New York took a look at PlantX and thought about how unique of a platform we're building. And they took a lot of interest in our company and put together a whole research report that we've been working with them to put in a lot of data. And it's about a 7-8 page report that gives insight on what PlantX is all about. So we're going to go ahead and hopefully they release it in the next couple of days. Obviously, we haven't seen the final report, but I look forward to sharing that with our investors and shareholders to make sure that they understand all the different verticals that PlantX is in and how quickly we've grown from zero a year ago to a company that now has a presence all around North America and expanding around the globe. So again, thank you to our investors and shareholders for making this dream become possible and what we're going to achieve in the next year and into the future. I think you guys will even be surprised. So until next time, stay curious, stay planted, stay healthy. Cheers.
Thanks for watching the PlantX Vodcast. Don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. For more information, go to investor.plantx.com. See you next time.